hear what you think. So let's start. It seems that all companies need to innovate. What are the biggest obstacles to innovation?
Okay, well, jumping right into it. I think,
Yeah, I always start with a very wide question and then we
yeah.
just go in.
Well, I
Yeah.
agree. It's really wide. It's broad because the key word there I think you used is all. And some people might be surprised by this, but I actually think every organization needs to innovate. And it's really a matter of a degree, right? Like some organizations are very mature, some are just learning. So when I hear the question, what are the biggest obstacles? I think what I would do is I would hone in on like my answer to the 90% of companies out there that are just beginning sort of their innovation journey or thinking about it. And my experience is, Addie, number one, the biggest impediment is executive buy-in. And so I think I've heard you use the same language, innovation theater. We have a lot of companies and their leaders saying, "Oh, we innovate, it's important," but when will they actually make it a priority? And for me, if it's not part of the strategy, if the board is not talking about it, if it's not in a measurable outcome in your annual plan, then you're just sort of talking about it. And so I think number one, you've got to get the executive buy-in, and that's everything from what's your risk tolerance, what's your outcome, et cetera. I think the other piece is around frameworks. And so because this is what we do and we see it so often is, so you get executive endorsement and you're excited about innovation. And then a lot of companies just start making it up. Like there's so much content out there, Addie, like what you do and what I do. And there's so much why wouldn't you draw from that? And I see so many companies trying to reinvent the wheel. And of course, the challenge to that is number one, it's going to slow you down. And as much as I love learning, I love that. But the pace is so fast that you need to capitalize on what's out there. So whether that's design thinking or hackathons or ecosystem collaborations or innovation horizons, all that content's out there. And so why wouldn't you start with dabbling with what already exists? And I think that's important too, because innovation, I'd be interested to hear what you think about this, but I think innovation is like inertia. If you get early wins, then you're more likely to keep going. But when you get frustrated and you don't get wins, then you start to like a bad habit. So frameworks help that. And I think the last thing, there's so many things, right, Addie, but I started thinking about what top the third thing, probably in my experiences anyway, is unrealistic expectations. So when you talk about impediments or obstacles, I see some companies who their expectations are so high. It's like, okay, we're going to start innovating. We're going to create a lab or we're going to invest some money or whatever it is. And all of a sudden they expect the team to go out in the first quarter and have some profound innovation mapped out. That's going to change the whole business.
Yeah, of course.
Right. It's just not always realistic. And on the other hand, some of the expectations are too low. Right? Like how many companies through COVID now think they're agile and now think they're innovative because they went remote in 2 weeks and they thought it would take 2 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like this is what makes us innovative because we just adjusted to what is.
Exactly. And so if you're comparing yourself to what you were like a year or two ago, that's not the right comparison. So I think every company needs to really think about where they're benchmarking innovation in my mind.
Yeah, I think that what you said about the C-level and the board and all the people from the top, they're just asking from all of the people down below them, you should be innovative. But what about you? When is the last time that you did something different than your usual path in career, the way that you're doing decisions, the way that you're doing what you're doing? They're usually expecting it to happen somehow in a magical way, that something that was grown half a year ago or a year ago would be any kind of competition to what you're doing for 15 years. Yeah. It doesn't match up. It doesn't make sense, right?